Good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing? Let's see. I hope this is working. And I think it is. So, if you're on and happen to be watching, just give me a thumbs up if the reception's pretty clear. I'm trying to do this simultaneously. I am not that technically savvy. I've got, you know what? I have a couple of phones in front of me. My iPhone on this side is for my Facebook Live, and Nancy's iPhone on this other side for the Instagram Live, because I find myself having two different types of audience. I've got my followers on Facebook, and I've got Instagram followers because some of them do not have Facebook. And so I figured, I'm just going to um, share them all at once. So today's topic obviously will be our Maldives vacation here at You and Me Resort. And this is the resort, You and Me, all right? This is their coaster actually. But before I begin, I've been showcasing this pillow from Qatar Airways that we got a few days ago. It says, "Love, work, travel, repeat." Okay, again, it says love, work, travel, repeat. And that's really been the mantra of this vacation, and even of all of my vacations. You've got to have a balance, not just one thing, not just work, not just school. I mean, that's great, but you have to have a balance. You gotta love hard, you gotta work hard, you gotta play hard, and do it all over. You gotta travel hard. And so I hope that in many ways or forms, I am imparting that with many of you. Okay, so I do want to cover quite a few things. The very first thing that I wanted to cover is someone asked me, Jason, is the Maldives a resort? Is the Maldives for adults only, or is it also good for kids? That's a very good question because I never thought of it. I never thought of that question because for this vacation that we're on right now, this is just pure adults only. The resort is adults only, and so I wanted to make sure that we would differentiate that. Is for those of you who are planning a trip anywhere really, whether it's Hawaii, Mexico, Maldives, wherever, and if you have kids, you want to make sure that will your kids be able to enjoy the trip, right? And so with this particular resort, because again, I want to paint this picture. Many of you, my followers, have been to Hawaii, have been to Mexico, etc. But when we think of Hawaii, for instance, like pick any one of the islands, Oahu, Maui, Kauai, Big Island, for instance. When you land on one of those islands, you go to your Airbnb or your hotel or your resort, and you can either just stay at the resort. If there's a beach, you can access the beach from there. Or if you have a rental car, if you take public transportation, you can explore the island. You can, in Hawaii, you can go and go to the waterfalls, go hiking, go to different restaurants, go to Costco, go and go snorkeling. And so basically you have the opportunity to explore Hawaii, and the kids, they have different ways of exploring Hawaii themselves. And that's the reason why I want to, differentiate the Maldives. So first of all, if we're thinking about kids, I'm going to take a quick sip, swig my coffee. When you think about the Maldives, again, when you think about these islands, they're not big islands like Oahu, because you can circle Oahu for like 3 or 4 hours, and with this particular island alone, there are no other resorts. This You and Me resort is the only resort here on this island. And so we are not battling any other Hyatts or Hiltons or Marriotts or any Airbnb. It is just your resort. And so chances are, depending on which island or which resort you choose in the Maldives, it's just going to be you and the guests of that island. All right. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because for this particular island that we're on, we're pretty isolated, and it's just like you can really easily stroll the island, and it's like a 30-minute stroll, casual stroll. You're not rushing, just really casual, not even brisk, because you want to take it all in. It's so beautiful, day and night. And so, as far as bringing kids, you also need to check with your resort itself, because there are adults only resort, and there are resorts where it's family friendly. All right. And speaking about the Travelzoo deal that we got, it is only meant for adults, but this particular You and Me resort, it's not part of Hyatt, it's not part of IHG, Hilton, or Marriott. It's I want to say it's more of a boutique style resort. All right, so so that's the thing. I want to make sure that you all understand that, because not everybody likes that. People like to explore. People like to do things. People like to go to the mountains. Go and do all of these lava tubing things, or visit different types of places. But not with the Maldives. I mean, I'm gonna pause right there. Not with staying on one island at the Maldives. On this particular resort alone, again, we have our overwater villa. If you have a pool, which we have right now, you can also go to your own backyard pool. Or we have access to the ocean. We've got a little ladder that goes directly into the ocean. And guys, I am not the tallest person. Yesterday when we stayed outside on the ocean, the pool, the ocean water was probably like as high as my tummy. So maybe about 3 feet. But depending on the time of day, when the tide goes up, it could really go above my head. So. As far as any other activities on an island like this, there are non-motorized water sports. And so we enjoyed kayaking, we enjoyed stand-up paddleboarding, we enjoyed snorkeling, and that's all within the island. And depending on your resort, like our resort, that's all included. We did not have to bring our own goggles, our own snorkeling equipment or gear. We did not have to bring or rent paddleboards, the life vests, because if you're not an experienced snorkeler, you need to stay afloat. Or if you're experienced, you can go and dive deep, etc. But most of us, or really all of us, pretty much. I have a big group here, by the way, of 22 people. We were wearing our life vests, while we had our goggles and snorkeling equipment on. And so again, there are days that we did a lot of things. Like the other day, we chose to explore and go on an excursion. There are off-site activities outside of the island that you can go to, and so we went on an excursion, which included a dolphin excursion, and we were also able to see manta rays. This big, humongous manta ray. I mean, I did not. Whatchamacallit, I did not measure the manta ray, but it looks so huge. It's probably 4 foot wide, all right? And it was just like gliding, swimming around the ocean. And then we also visited a couple of islands. One of them was a deserted island where the former residents were no longer living on that island because of a disaster like over 15, 20 years ago. And so, we were able to visit uninhabited hospital, homes, a mosque. It was pretty sad, but it goes to show that this one island, where at one time there were 3,000 residents, is no longer being utilized or used because of this devastation from like 15 or 20 years ago. So. And also from there, we went and snorkeled to a private island, no buildings, nothing. It's just this one little island that you can circle within 15 minutes, and you can snorkel right off the beach. It's just right there. And so, again, so you have all of those examples. You can go on a sunset cruise. You can go fishing, but it is that kind of a vacation. This is not one of those things where you wake up and say, I'm gonna go and hike today, or I'm gonna go and do this today. You can go and do those little things, but I want you, especially if you're very familiar with Hawaii, it's in big contrast with Hawaii. So if that is not your thing, I am letting you know now that the Maldives might not be your thing. But for me, because I'm a Hawaii guy. I'm not Hawaiian, but I'm a Hawaii guy. You guys know that we visit 2 or 3 times. I mean, gosh, we were there 3 weeks ago. We're going back again this summer. We were there last November, last August. I mean, and so we love, hopping from one place to another, circling the island of Hawaii. And so, but here in the Maldives, guys, it's all about disconnecting. It's all about taking your time. If you've been on a cruise, think of the Maldives more like a cruise, but it's not moving, because you wake up, you eat your breakfast, you hang out, you can choose to, again, explore or do some water activities, or you can just go back to your room and access the ocean from there, or there is a section for like a quiet beach, and you can read a book or just let the day take you. All right. There's also a spa. There's yoga. There's all of these classes. There are nightly entertainment. Last night there was a movie night. There was a Maldivian night where they had like local performers. During dinner we had someone singing during dinner. There's a karaoke night. There's a live band night, etc. And so, but I would not call it a big party, because especially on these little islands, like on this one right now, there are 109 rooms, and they're about 80% capacity. So there's about 80 guests, okay, 80, 90 guests. And you don't see these people unless you go to dinner or breakfast or lunch. But during the day, everyone's pretty spread out. You're not battling with anybody, trying to get that perfect Instagrammable picture because someone is there taking up your space. It's not like that. There's so much space and availability for you to still feel like you are away from it all. All right, so if you are looking to tone down, to quiet down, to disconnect, then I think this would be good for you. But if you or your spouse or your kids are looking for an adventure, this might not be it. All right, so I want to make sure I give you that fair expectation. Another good question that someone asked, Another good question that someone asked me is how many days to spend the Maldives. All right, just to give you a point of reference, we are here for a little over a week. Mike, good question. I'm going to hold on to that question. So, okay, good. All right, so how many days? So, first of all, for us Americans, it took us a little over 20 hours. I think maybe even a full day. I mean, I lost count already. So we flew from LA to San Francisco. That's about an hour. All right. We waited in San Francisco for like about 4 or 5 hours to catch our 3 o'clock flight to Doha. From San Francisco to Doha, we were on business class for 15 hours. All right. Some of you guys might be flying to Dubai, because I do not think, and someone correct me, I do not think there's a direct flight to the Maldives. I mean, I'm almost certain there is no direct flight from the US to the Maldives. So with us, we had to fly to Doha. Other folks flew to Dubai. And depending on your flights, I have some folks who I met who only stayed in Dubai for a couple hours. With my group, some of them stayed in Dubai for 7 or 8 hours. Nancy and I were in Doha for like 9 or 10 hours. And again, long, but for me, because I'm a travel blogger, I mean, I love these things because when we went to Doha and those folks who went to Dubai, it's like you being at Disneyland at this big candy store. Everything was an eye candy. We went into this business lounge that only Qatar, I think, business class passengers, and again, someone correct me if I'm wrong, business class passengers of Qatar Airways were able to use that. And when you walk in, it looks like a huge football field. I'm not kidding you. You know, there's this big water feature right in front. There's a spiral staircase to go up to the restaurant, and we're not talking like a McDonald's. It was a sit-down restaurant. You went and ordered whatever you wanted. There was a buffet, but they also served it to you. And again, it's a beautiful, beautiful restaurant. And then there's lots of lounge chairs. There's a lot of places for you to lie down and relax. And there's also another section where you can, really sleep. There's like a sleeping area, and there are showers. And so this 8 to 10 hours that Nancy and I spent in Doha, we weren't bored. I mean, we were able to rest. And Doha, if I'm not mistaken, is 2021's world's best airport. And so, of course, we explored the world's best airport. There's a mall, there's like a showroom of cars, and there's like a beautiful duty-free. There's a Harrods tea room. And so it was just an eye candy, and we were not the least bit bored. All right. So again, we were there for 10 hours. And then once we boarded our flight from Doha to Maldives, it was another 4 hours. So someone do the math for me. That's like over 20 hours already. Okay. So what am I getting at? I mean, you're going to be traveling and spending a full day already, if not more, when you fly to the Maldives. And so I personally would not do the Maldives from the US and only be here for 3 days. I would not do that. All right. Again, this is all subjective. You know, other folks would like to hop to a different adventure, but in my case, I would not do the Maldives in 3 days. All right. I think at a minimum 5 nights. All right. We are here for 8 days, 7 nights. And I know of some folks who stay here for like 2-3 weeks. You know, they've got the money, I'm sure, or they've got the points. All right. So it just depends on what you want out of it. But I personally would not do the Maldives in those 3 nights. Yeah, Mike, about 20 hours, but I think I was also adding the airport wait time. I mean, and so it's a long day from the time that we started to the time that we got here. And when we got to Maldives, to the airport, we had to wait another 2 or 3 hours because of our seaplane ride. And so it was really over 24 hours for us. And again, that will vary depending on where you're coming from. So if you are flying here, I think you should at least spend 5 nights. And if you can do it, you know, spend 7 nights. And again, this is given the scenario that I gave you that, guys, this, for me, my takeaway here is I have never been this relaxed in so long. You know, we travel quite a bit. We do road trips quite a bit. And you know, we love going to Europe and Japan and New York City and Hawaii and whatnot and Mexico. You know, those are, to me, very busy vacations, walking, public transportation, you know, exploring, driving around, you know. But the Maldives, it was like you step on the brakes. You step on the brakes because while there are activities around you that you can do, you just get sucked in. And I'm doing this with a smile because I really enjoyed it. You get really sucked into just wanting to slow down, relaxing. All right. I know that from a Facebook, Instagram, I mean, I stayed in touch with everybody because it's what I do, right? But for many of my family friends who are here, there are 22 of us, many of them just disconnected. I mean, they took lots of pictures, but they weren't on social media the way that I am keeping you all posted. All right. So the question that Mike asked, is it worth the hype? All right. And also, would I go back? I would go back. All right. Not anytime soon. All right. Let's see. Is it worth the hype? For me, it is because I am enjoying my vacation. I'm sure someone who does not like hanging around at the resort, someone who does not like to just lounge on a beach chair, who does not like having a pool right outside, because to me, I enjoy that stuff. And so for others, they might not care for that. All right. So again, it will be very, very subjective. All right. The waters, guys, insane, insane. I mean, I've been to Hawaii, to Mexico, to the Philippines. I mean, the water in the Philippines is different. I mean, there is one island that we went to a couple of years ago in Dumaguete, which is, I think it's supposed to be labeled as the Maldives of the Philippines, where we walk in the sandbar and everything was just knee high. All right, it was crystal clear. All right, but with the Maldives, I think there's just more options for you to visit so many of these islands that have an overwater villa. And oh, that's another thing I wanted to point out. Depending on your budget, whether you're paying in cash, Travelzoo, or points. I mean, personally, for me, as someone who traveled like 30 plus hours from the US to the Maldives, I knew that I wanted an overwater villa experience. All right. And later on the trip, our vacation, if you've been following along, we wanted to add an overwater pool villa to our vacation, and we're so glad that we did. We were able to share that with our friends and family. We were like a little big family, a little big community here. Were we rowdy? We were loud, but we were not like obnoxiously loud. We were just having good old fun, right? And so we were able to use the pool, and some of them were able to just go down to the ocean and swim and go for hundreds of yards, and the water would still be waist high. All right, and not even have to worry because you were wearing your life vest, and it felt very, very safe. All right. The other thing that I wanted to cover, and if I'm forgetting something, just keep asking those questions because I can only see a portion on my little phone here. The seaplane. Okay, here you go. I'm so glad that this was asked. So, I've never been on a seaplane. I don't even think I've been on any smaller plane ever in my life. I've never been in a helicopter. So the seaplane, the one that we took, I mean, there is like one main seaplane that many of the Maldivian resorts use, which is TMA, Trans Maldivian Airways. All right. And so when you get to, I'm gonna take you on a trip. So as far as booking the seaplane, chances are if you book a resort, they will or they should give you information on how to get from the airport to the resort. Okay, because there are a couple of different ways, at least that I know of, that you can get from the airport, which is in Male, to the resort, and one of them is via speedboat. All right, but the speedboats are really offered from the resorts that are within, I want to say, 30 minutes of a boat ride to the resort. I mean, that would be the speedboat, because if you were to go from the airport to our resort here, I was told it'll take like 3 to 4 hours. I don't know how true that is, but I'm not about to question that. 3 to 4 hours via boat or speedboat. And so, no, we're not doing that. So, from a seaplane perspective, if it was a direct flight, it would have been like a 45-minute one-way plane ride. For our arrival here, there were a couple of folks who we dropped off, and so we got there. We flew for like 40 minutes, dropped them off. They had to deplane and be picked up by their local boat, and then it took another 15 to 20 minutes to get to our resort. Okay, how was the ride? Okay, I am not the biggest fan of seaplanes. I mean, I guess all of these thoughts just linger in your mind because, this is a guy who just flew business class. All right, so this is a guy who was just pampered, from San Francisco to Doha, from Doha to Male. We were treated like royalty. Okay, so I'm gonna describe the seaplane. So there are, I think, 4 or 5 rows. On this side, on the right hand side, there's like two passengers, a row for two passengers, a little aisle, and then on the left side where I sat, there were like 4 different rows of like one passenger each. So I think no more than 12 passengers. Plus, there were two pilots, and I think I'd like to call him the staff plane staff in the back. One guy was watching the luggage and making sure that we get on and get off of the plane safely. And so there were 3 staff members, including 2 of the pilots. All right. So the seaplane itself, it wasn't bumpy. I'll tell you that it wasn't bumpy, but I think for a first timer, I just had all of these things going in my mind, like, oh my gosh, I've never, I was looking at the pilots because you can see their cabin door. I don't think there was even a cabin door. All right, so it was just me or us looking, to the left or right to the windows, and then this open door or opening and you can see the pilot, and all I can see are the different gadgets and their dashboard. I don't know what the cockpit. There you go. And then they have this lever that they were either pushing down or holding. So it was just a different experience for me. All right, and the landings, we landed twice because again we dropped off somebody and then we went to our resort and landed again, and the landings were smooth, but I think it was just being a first timer, that I was like, oh my gosh, it was, I don't want to say scary, but at least for me, I was just really, really anxious. I just wanted to get to the resort because again we've been traveling for 30 plus hours already. All right. Oh, the lever, it's just up there. I'll take a picture of it. We fly back. We fly later on this evening or this afternoon. I will take a picture of it. I mean, it's a lever that they have to use. I don't know what it's for. I'm not a pilot. All right. So yeah, I will share that with you. But it was one of the most picturesque flights I've been on because if you're on my Facebook page, I think I showed a picture of the ocean and a couple of different islands, and it just took me back to grade school when we were learning cell structure. And I don't know what mitochondria is or cytoplasm and whatnot, but it reminded me of the cell structure. Okay, my friend Ian Campos just asked me. Let's switch now to a different topic. H2O experience. Okay, a lot of you guys know I'm a foodie. All right, I love food. I love local food. I love street food. I love fancy food. I love food. Okay, I love to cook. All right. To those who do not know, our Travelzoo package includes a breakfast and dinner for our entire stay, and also an H2O, which is underwater restaurant experience. All right. Here at this resort, there is an underwater restaurant, and it's only maybe 3 to 5 minutes away. Thank you, Derek. There you go, guys. The lever for the plane is to approach for landing. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I just know that these guys were holding it the entire, not the entire time, but the times that I looked, they were holding it. They were not moving it, but they were holding it. All right. So here we go. So going back to the H2O experience. Again, H2O experience. I'm going to share some pictures later. But on this underwater restaurant, instead of like these thick walls or the windows, because you're underwater, you are like in an aquarium. All right. You're underwater, and outside is the ocean. There's coral reefs, and so. We saw a shark, we saw a turtle, lots of fish. I think we also saw manta ray. But and so it just depends on where you sit, because There were times where it looked like the fish and the sharks and the turtles went on break. They were gone. Okay, I mean, I'm not kidding you. There's a picture of me that I'm going to share later. I think I might even have shared it on my invite here. There's only like one or two fish, all right? But there was a time when like it looks like everybody, were released and they were just right there. And so that was fun, okay? And so here's a tip. I mean, I'm going to talk about the food shortly here. So here's a tip. Because we're such a big group, we were assigned seats or tables, all right? And so, we at first Nancy and I were like assigned further in, but we found an empty spot, so we moved there, which is kind of like the main dome of this underwater restaurant, all right? And so when we sat there, because the weather, guys, it's like 80, 85 degrees. When we sat there, it was bright and sunny up there, and it was really hot. Okay, I mean, we weren't sweating, not profusely at least. We weren't sweating, but it was just hot. It didn't feel like the air conditioner was going down our way, but it looks like the AC stayed back there. So if you want the views, definitely sit up close. But but just know that it could be hot. All right. So let's talk about the food. So I'll just say this: I was not a big fan of the food. All right. And I am just glad that the Travelzoo deal that we got for $19.95 included the H2O underwater experience. Some people paid, I think, $180 per person. I have the menu here, and I should publish it. $180 per person. I mean, I'm gonna double check with the resort, because the reason why I don't know is because I didn't have to pay for it. It was already included. But that included, there's sea sponge, which looked like a cake, like a sponge cake, but it's a real sea sponge. All right. There's anchovies. This is the starters. There's prawns and caper powders and sauces. And for the main course, and you'll see it. And if you and me, folks, Maldives, are watching this, it's a little laughable, really. This little bowl of pasta that, guys, if you've seen me cook, I mean, I think you're gonna want my food better, all right? But it was a little bowl of these seashell pasta with calamari and fish soup and leek powder. It was savory, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to eat more, all right? And then we were also given another plate with sea bass and ratatouille vegetables. And then and this one, I really didn't care for this one. They served pineapple coconut and then smoked rosemary ice cream. And so the way it was served, I mean, picture, those cake thingies where you put the cake and it's covered in glass and they lift it, etc. So everything was served like that. It was smoky inside, and then when they serve it to you, and we have it on video, they lift it, and so the smoky rosemary smell kind of like took over the room, and honestly, I did not care for that. And so I think what I'm getting at is, for this underwater restaurant, it was more about the ambiance. It was more about the service, all right? Because every time something was served, so they placed the fork and the knives, nicely, and then after each course, they took it away and then put a new set of forks and knives, and then took things away, etc. So here we go. Here's another thing, and again, this will vary by resort. While our meals were covered for the underwater restaurant, and again, you have to ask when you visit the Maldives, you have to ask. Drinks were not covered. And so I was thinking, okay, I know that alcohol will not be free because our breakfast and dinner drinks also did not cover any alcohol. I mean, we were able to order soda and water, at the main restaurant on the island, but over at the underwater restaurant, even the water is not free. But they're not expensive. I mean, we ordered a couple of sparkling water bottles. They're about, about yay high, about this high. it was only about $7. All right, so I wanted to make sure that I'm also going to be holding on to this topic shortly. I want to make sure that you guys ask, especially if you are coming here, whether you are half board, full board, or all inclusive, you need to always ask, is this covered? All right, because we are half board fare, meaning our breakfast was all covered, our dinner was all covered, and the only lunch that was covered for us is the underwater restaurant. All right, and so, but we went to dinner one night. The menu looked like everything was going to be covered for us, but there were things like the lobster that was not included. So you need to double check and ask, because otherwise you will be charged. I'll just say that and leave it at that. So make sure it's always best to ask. Otherwise, you will be getting a bill. I mean, here at the resort, we even though our breakfast and dinners were covered, we were still given a check, an individual check. All right. So what else? So yeah, I want to make sure that you guys know that, and those are the things that I want to make sure that everybody remembers. All right. Let's talk about credit cards. And again, we've got followers here who never entertained the idea of booking with a booking your trip using points earned with credit card. There are those who are still using cash. There are those who are still using a debit card. Okay, so I'm gonna focus on booking this first, not using points. All right. So many of you know that we booked this trip with Travelzoo. When I say book with Travelzoo, Travelzoo offered a special to the non-Americans. I think Travelzoo is good for Americans and Canadians, but someone can check me on that. All right, Travelzoo is for Americans and Canadians, and if your country or whatever participates in Travelzoo, you can also check them out. If you find a deal, like in this case, this deal showed up back in October 2020. It was short-lived. You buy the voucher. You do not book with Travelzoo. Travelzoo will not tell you when the hotel will be available, because basically you're buying a voucher, and the voucher will tell you, and the keyword you guys need to be looking for is the fact that is this deal fully refundable? Okay, because why is that important? Especially with the pandemic, with everyone's lifestyle being affected by the pandemic, whether it's sickness or travel delays or requirement, or maybe if someone is having issues with vaccination. I mean, these could all play a role whether you can go or not go, right? Or maybe even finances could be another reason why you can go or not go. So with the Travelzoo deal, you will, once you get the voucher, you will have to reach out directly to the resort by email in this case. And early on, the resort actually offered to call me, because I told them we had like 20 something or 30 people who are going, and so they wanted to just work with me directly. Okay. Otherwise, if it's just you and your husband, or you and your girlfriend, or your partner, or your kids, whatever, just work directly with the resort via email, and you do the whole booking and reservations with them. All right. Where the fully refundable comes in, and again, this will vary by voucher. All right. Our particular deal itself allowed us to cancel up until 14 days before our trip. So let me take a step back. We bought the voucher October of 2020, the very first year of the pandemic. The voucher was very clear that it's fully refundable, and we can pick dates up until October 2022. So you need to also look at, is it fully refundable, and up until when can you use that voucher? All right, because some vouchers, I saw one for this, is only good for you to use through this summer. We had 2 years to pick a date, and the world was in such a disarray in 2020 that we did not want to pick anything in 2021. Edward, I'm not back yet. I'm still here. I'm here in my room. So in 2021. And so it was good that we were able to pick something all the way out to 2022. But we were told that if you want the best weather, to try and go around February and March. The most expensive time is November, I think December and January, because whatever we were paying at the time, I think would have cost more if we went around December and January. And there are rainy seasons. I think the rainy season is around August through September, so or maybe July through September. But just check Google, guys, and you will see that. All right. So going back to Travelzoo again, just make sure that your voucher is fully refundable and that you're able to use it. There is somebody in our group. We were supposed to be 24 for this trip, but there was a couple where things happened for whatever reason. Because Travelzoo will not ask you why are you canceling. You can't cancel. All right. As long as you follow by the rules, you're able to cancel. So this couple were already booked with the resort, meaning their voucher was technically booked or used already. So in order for them to get a refund, they needed to cancel with the resort first, basically undoing the voucher. And the resort needed to make sure, hey, are they are they part of that 14-day guideline? Because if they were already within 10 days of our travel date, they can't cancel anymore. But they were like under 19 days or maybe 18 days before our travel date. And so all they did was email the resort canceled it, and once the resort officially canceled it, that couple went to their Travelzoo account, went to their My Purchases, and then canceled the voucher. And then within a couple of days, the funds or whatever you spent was not emailed back, refunded back to you. All right. So just make sure that you keep that in mind. All right. So again, that is one way of booking that I suggest is try and book a package. There are packages out there where the Seaplane, you know what, I'm glad we're bringing this up. The Seaplane in our package was not included. And depending on the time of year, I believe the Seaplane might vary as well. For this time of year, my friend, Travel Hacking Mom, paid $420 per person round trip, and she's staying at Le Meridien, a Marriott property, out away from this island. And so we both paid the same amount of Seaplane transfer. All right. So and again, there are properties where the Seaplane deal is already included in the Travelzoo voucher, and there are properties where it's excluded, like this one. All right. And so, the one thing I forgot to mention earlier, for the properties that are closer to the airport, okay, a lot of them offer the speedboat round trip ride at no extra charge. So you might want to look for that as well. All right. I mean, especially if cost is a big issue, you might want to look for deals that includes the transportation as well. And so again, only the resorts that's very close to the airport are within speedboat ride distance. All right. But the ones that are further out, I mean, I don't know how many miles we are from the airport, but again, it took about an hour of a seaplane ride to get us here. Okay. Nationalities. Oh my gosh. There was somebody from Poland who were right next to us. There were quite a few Californians. Besides my group of 22 Californians, there were other Californians who are here. I overheard a few folks speaking in French. There was somebody from Libya the other day. And so, quite a few. I mean, again, the resort is not packed. All right. It's not packed. And so, there were quite a few nationalities. Do they have weight limit on the luggage? Yes, they do. And so I'm going to take a step back, because if you're flying, let's say from the US, and you're flying, whether it's Qatar Airways or whatever major airline, all of these major airlines will allow you like up to 50, 60 or 70 pounds, or maybe even 2 70-pound luggage plus your carry-on. And so, I mean, you could be you could be really packing those things. All right. However, and I mentioned this, I think, on one of my Facebook and Instagram posts, that it doesn't matter. Well, unless you are fully loaded in cash, it doesn't matter what your major airline allows you to bring, because by the time that you get on the island here at Male International Airport, what's going to matter at that time is what will the seaplane allow you to bring. All right. So I'm gonna give you an example. Qatar Airways allowed us to bring up to like Nancy and I, 270 pounds luggage that we could check in. So between she and I, we could have brought 280 pounds, 4 pieces of luggage, and that does not even include our carry-on and the backpack. All right. So we could have brought like 5 pieces of luggage plus our backpacks. All right. That would be fine and all with Qatar Airways. But once we get to Maldivian Airways, they have their own luggage and weight policy. And if I'm not mistaken, it's up to 25 kilograms. And I have to look at my old notes now. It's up to 25 kilograms, which I think is no more than 50 pounds. And we're talking one check luggage item and one hand carry item. So in our case, we had a carry-on and we had a backpack. Some members of our group had a regular big luggage and a backpack or a carry-on. All right. You can only bring 2 pieces per person to make sure that you meet the weight limit. Anything over that, if I'm not mistaken, you're gonna be billed £2, $5 for every 2 pounds, give or take. All right. So you're more than welcome to bring your 140 pounds, that's allowed by Qatar Airways. But just know that whatever you bring on that plane, you will be charged extra. Anything that is beyond what was allowed. And the other thing that you need to remember, if you bring too much, there's a high chance that your luggage will not fly with you on the seaplane, because you have to factor in that there are other guests who are flying in with you, and so you will. And if you've got a lot of stuff, your luggage might be delayed. All right, so keep that in mind. Laundry facilities, we did not use any laundry facilities, but I did see a laundry bag that's like almost in every hotel, and so I'm sure you can get that done. And so and we do this a lot, whether it's in Europe or Japan or Hawaii. I've done this too, but what the places we stayed in Hawaii offered, we had our own washing machine and dryer, and so. But anyway, we do this a lot. We just hand wash our clothes, and the weather is like 80 degrees, breezy, warm breeze, not cold, and so it was whatchamacallit. It was easy for us to dry our clothes, and so you can bring your own little bag of soap if you want, or maybe just use one of the soaps, the facial soap, something not too hard. And so we do that, and we only brought like light wear. We didn't bring jackets and sweaters or anything like that. All right. So hang on a second. Try using this here from this one. Messenger. Sorry. So there. Another question, and again, I'm only seeing little questions here and there. I heard some hotels can be driven to by the boat. Is that an option for hotels plus a seaplane? Well, Male, where you land, that's where the major international airport is. There are hotels there, but I am not an expert on that island. But I do not know if you will get the Maldives experience, because I think the beauty of these Maldivian islands, and again, you Google it, lots of islands. It's not just one island. lots of islands around Maldives. The beauty of it is for you to venture out into a private island where your resort is, and not have to worry about the crowd. The way that Lisa Gwen asked is, you can be driven there. Let's see here. Oh, let me see if I can see her question. I heard some hotels can be driven to by the boat. Yeah, I think what she meant when I saw the word driven, like car drive. No, there are some hotels, you're right, there are some hotels that are easily accessible by boat. And those are the ones that are only within 30-minute boat ride distance. They are much closer to the airport, and so you might hear more airplane sounds, all right, more seaplanes, because they're so much closer to the airport. Where we are, the only thing that we've heard are maybe a couple of times when the seaplanes would arrive or depart from our resort. But other than that, we've not really heard any other noise. All right. The Male Island itself, there are hotels there as well, but it's not a place where I would stay and say that this is my Maldives. I think you have to venture out to one of the more remote islands or away from the airport to really experience the resort. All right. So going back to the credit card. So I talked about Travelzoo. So that's an option. But for those of us who are in the miles and points game, I think many of you know that Nancy and I flew Qatar Airways Q Suites. And for those who do not know, we used 70,000 American Airlines miles per person. And the fees, guys, insane. $15 from me, $15 for Nancy to pay business class. How much were those business class seats worth? If we had to pay for them, it would have cost us $19,000 or $20,000 one way. And again, this included our little commuter flight from LA to San Francisco to Doha, Doha to Male. That was all on one ticket, and our out-of-pocket cost was $15. That's it. Everything else was on points. And so to those who are not familiar, but Jesus, Jason, how am I going to get 70,000 miles? I am not a frequent air traveler. I'm not a frequent flyer. You could easily sign up for, if it's just you and your wife or you and your partner, you could easily sign up for 2 separate individual credit cards that earn American Airlines miles. And I can post those later. When Nancy and I signed up for these credit cards, there was a business card version with Citi. There was a personal card version with Citi. And depending on the time of year, I think we got them at around 60,000 points, sign up bonus, or maybe even 65,000. I think right now it's 50,000. And so we were so close. It was so close for us to easily attain those miles just by earning sign up bonus. All right. Yes, Faye, we did book this Q Suite separately. Nancy had her own booking. I had my own booking because we had 2 different American Airlines accounts. All right, so that was all booked separately. For the flight back, we will be flying Etihad. We're actually going to Dubai and Abu Dhabi from here. And Jason and Nancy are going to have to suck it up and fly economy from Maldives to Abu Dhabi. We're going to be flying tonight, Etihad, all right? I'm still looking forward to that, again, for research, all right? So we're going to be flying Etihad, and I think, I don't have my notes in front of me, I think it was 12,500 membership rewards that we used, okay? I transferred from Amex to Aeroplan and booked everything on Aeroplan. And then we're going to spend a week in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. From Abu Dhabi, we're going to fly to DC. And we're going to be flying Etihad again, first class. All right? First class. And if I'm not mistaken, I got to check my notes. I think we use around 120,000 American membership rewards per person. All right? So altogether, we use over 250,000 American Express membership rewards and $300 $311 out of pocket in fees. And if you were to pay for that flight, that, from Malé to Abu Dhabi to DC, it'd be like $20,000. Guys, I have 4 kids. We are not shelling out $20,000. There's no way. No way. So, how will you earn that? Again, credit cards. I mean, that could easily be, and this is the reason why we keep talking about partnering with somebody, or if you don't have a partner, do this on your own. You can apply for a platinum card. There's a great offer right now on a gold card that will get you really, really close to these flights. And so it's very doable. You do not need to spend over $90,000 or anything like that to earn these points. It's all about using the right credit card and signing up to earn the sign up bonus. All right. Let's see here. I'm looking at if there's any other questions. Okay. There are some folks who can't hear me, but others obviously can hear me. So anyway, there you go. Adriana got approved the gold card the other day. So congratulations. So I think anything else is platinum. I mean, is platinum worth it? Again, worth it is very individualized. It's worth it to you, to me, if you're using the benefits. With a platinum card, you get the global entry, you get the TSA pre-check, you get access to priority pass. You can't hear me on Instagram? Oh my gosh. Why is that? Why is that? I'm so sorry. All right. I don't know why. I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry. If you guys are on my Instagram page, I'm so sorry that you can't hear me. So just go to my Facebook page, and my live happens to be working there. I don't know why. It's maybe I should do a test later. So So is it worth it? I mean, as long as you use all of the benefits. I mean, there are benefits. There's a Centurion Lounge. There are like perks or points back that you receive when you use your points with American Express. So anyway, so that's about it that I want to cover. And if you guys have any other questions, please let me know. Post them there, and I'll make sure to answer your questions directly. To those on Instagram, I wish I had seen your comment that you guys couldn't hear me. I am so sorry, but I can do another live later, and we can do this, but maybe from Dubai or Abu Dhabi. We'll do another segment. All right. So that's it. I hope that everyone is having a good day. Let me just show you guys really quick. I mean, it's the sun rose, but the sun rises not from this side. So this is how it looks very early in the morning. All right. So here we go. The sun rises on the other side of the resort, and so that's why you can't see the bright sun, but it's like really still very early in the morning here. So again, here's the access to the ocean. I mean, it's not even bright yet, but look how clear that is. It's so stinking clear. All right, and maybe I can show you. I hope I don't lose you, but I want to show you the hood. Right there. Other overwater villas. All right, guys. So I'm gonna sign off on this one. Again, if you were on Instagram, you couldn't hear me. I'm so sorry. I mean, my Instagram live worked well the other day. All right. So I'll talk to you guys later. We've got a busy full day. I mean, we're checking out later on this afternoon, but we still have so many more things we wanted to do or not do here at the resort. Okay. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.